It is amazing the effects that chronic pain can have on you. Case in point, this very video, I've been trying to make it for like a week now. And like yesterday, I posted about this. The pain I gotten in my neck, it's still kind of there, but pain, nociceptors interact with every single system in your body, including your immune system, including the part that causes inflammation. And it did that yesterday in my neck and gave me laryngitis. And so I couldn't record, and that's the kind of things that happen. And today it just feels like I've got a belly full of rocks. I'm kind of reminded of some versions of Little Red Riding Hood, where after, they defeat the wolf and they get Red and the grandmother out of the wolf's belly, they fill his belly with rocks and laugh as he tries to run away. That's what I feel like. I feel like I got that belly full of rocks right now, and it's hard to move. But I need to do this. This is another one from David Manney. I've done a few of his before. And if you remember, I speculated that he was probably a new pain patient the way he was talking. He reached out to me. He found my videos. And he sent me a really nice email. Confirmed that, yes, he is a pain patient. And he's going to talk about that a little here. And we had a really nice back and forth. And he's always looking for stories of people who are suffering from acute or chronic pain and what your experience is. And I'm always asking for that. If you've got anything like that, comment below. But if you don't want to comment here for whatever reason, he's got an anonymous link. I'll put it below. So just click his link and talk to Manney. He'll keep you anonymous. He'll respect your privacy. And we've got a few of those stories here. But let's start with Manney's. Because the question he had asked me is, does my chronic pain affect my dreams? And the answer is, I don't know, because I don't remember dreams. I might kind of remember vague things about a dream I had just before I woke up, but other than that, I don't remember dreams. But this is an interesting effect. It would make sense, and I've been kind of trying to pay a little more attention to that to see if I can get anything out of my dreams, but nothing so far. I know that I dream, I just don't remember them. But he says, I don't know if my experience matches that of other people suffering from chronic pain, but in my life, pain is with me each moment. It usually stays around my normal pain level, a solid 7 on the scale. Yeah, that's about right. But sometimes it flares into something ugly. That's the breakthrough pain. That's the pain that no medicine will take care of. The pain is sharper, heavier, and there are days when my body feels like it's been hijacked by something ugly, where nothing I can do helps. That's been the last few days for me. It's during those stretches where something curious happens. The dreams. They're not normal dreams. I'm dragged into scenes where I'm the target of such rage that it feels real. If I'm the target, who's pulling the emotional trigger? The people I've loved most in my life turn against me with venomous words. Once my mother appeared, shrieking at me like she was a banshee, with a voice with such fury that I couldn't comprehend. While in those dreams, I'd feel anger rise in me, but the only thing I could manage to do was warn those around me to calm down. Then I'd wake up shaken, exhausted, and still with my constant companion. The takeaway for me is simple. The sharper the pain, the louder the dreams. And there is research that says that, it links to a couple of them, but that shows that there's a link between chronic pain and nightmares, often with unusually vivid recall. Again, I don't have that. Everyone's different. But he says, and I know this feeling as well. I know that many people have it far worse than I do. Oh yes, that's true. There are lots of people who are in a far worse situation than I am. My struggles, as difficult as they feel, pale in comparison to theirs. These men and women endure relentless physical pain, but that's not all. The cruelty of a bureaucracy that brands them addicts and throws roadblocks in their path. For them, every step toward relief is turned into another uphill climb. And so he goes into a few stories that people have sent him, and again, he'll keep you anonymous if you want to. This first one is incognito. In childhood, rheumatic fever left her with damage most doctors either overlooked or dismissed, a condition so painful and so poorly understood that many patients are left abandoned without help. For her, pain has been a constant companion since the days when her classmates were still learning multiplication tables. She spent years being told it was all in her head. Oh, yeah, Oh my God. Every time someone says that, I seriously feel a NAP violation coming on. Each clinic visit became another round of humiliation. When she finally found a doctor who believed her, Dr. Tennant, it was like oxygen after suffocation. He treated her not as a suspect, but a patient. His care did not cure her, but it gave her dignity and some measure of relief after a lifetime of disbelief. Incognita's account shows the long road many pain patients walk before anyone listens. It's not simply the illness that destroys them, but the dismissal that follows. Her life is proof that medicine fails when it treats suffering as a character flaw instead of a call for compassion. Every single one of us knows about that, I'll tell you. Alright, then there's David F., who has rheumatoid arthritis. Iliac crest pain makes standing feel like punishment. Only once in recent years did he taste life without it. A diagnostic nerve block that silenced the agony for a single day. And basically that's where they inject something directly into your spine to deaden a nerve. And this really only works if the pain is localized, in one, because he had rheumatoid arthritis and some spinal issues. So blocking those nerves, sure, yeah, in his case they probably helped. In a case like mine, it wouldn't, because my pain is kind of all over. But that confirmed his superior cluneal nerve was the culprit, and ablation could give him months of relief. So that nerve block is actually diagnostic, and it's just there to test, oh, okay, this is the nerve that's causing the problem, then let's do ablation. We burn that nerve and stop that nerve from doing things. He's not looking for a miracle, just for the chance to stand without feeling like he's being cut in two. However, Medicare classifies the procedure as experimental. Because it is. This is an experimental invasive procedure. It's pretty serious. And until it gets all the way through FDA testing, and again, that just shows us how uncompassionate the system is. Because he knows that this could help him. He knows that this could give him relief. But it hasn't been proven effective. So it's experimental, so Medicare isn't going to cover it, other insurance plans aren't going to cover it, and clinics are reluctant to perform it. Fraud statutes even block him from paying cash for the treatment. Oh, this is a thing that a lot of people don't find out until they're on Medicare. If you need a treatment and Medicare won't pay for it, and you say, okay, well, I'll pay for it, fraud. How is that fraud? Because the system says so. What are you supposed to do, man? So he turns to tramadol, Tylenol, cortisone shots, and physical therapy. They help at the edges, but never touch the raw nerve pain that the block erased. Yeah, because he now knows what the cause is. He knows the cause. His cause is one thing in one place, and that's what he needs to take care of. Each day begins with the same blade in his back, and he knows there is an answer just out of reach. David's case exposes the cruelty of bureaucracy. He does not lack proof, he lacks permission. That's it. Everyone has to get on their knees and beg their slave masters for permission to get a few crumbs. And that's what your tax money goes to. And that is the final insult. To prove a treatment works, only to have a system declare his suffering less real than its paperwork. Yeah, man, those 1962 Kefauver-Harris amendments, they created so much suffering, so much misery, and so much needless death. They need to be gone. They need to be gone completely. Alright, John G., a critical care nurse living at the intersection of policy and pain. He watched as government officials demanded hospitals raise patient pain scores or face financial penalties. He lived through the policy swing from reckless overprescribing to rigid denial. See my other videos, I don't think there was any reckless overprescribing. I think they were just doctors treating pain. And they'd say, oh, you gave him 7 days, why do you need to get 7 days? Well, how are you supposed to know at the time how many days that patient is going to need? So what do? Oh, give him 3 days. Well, what if that doesn't work? Oh, well, he can get some more. Okay, so then he'd have to fight the pain to get up and get back to the pharmacy to get a refill. People can get the pills they need and discard the rest. That's not overprescribing. and then became a patient trapped in that same pendulum. When his own body gave way, John carried both medical knowledge and patient experience into his appointments. He knew exactly what the rules were doing, because he had enforced them himself. Oh man, that's always the thing to keep in mind. What if it happens to you? Because this could be any one of you. Any one of you at any time could come down with some of these diseases, or get hit by a drunk driver, or have something else happen. In an instant, boom, like that. Quick as that. Your life is changed forever. No warning. No way to avoid it. Your life, as you knew it before, is over. And there's a new one you've got to look to. And there's a new one you've got to deal with. And it can come in an instant, without warning, without anything you can do about it. Except deal with the aftermath. That's the situation he was in. He saw how hospitals pushed opioids to satisfy satisfaction surveys, and how that same pressure now punishes patients by cutting them off. In his own care, he faced suspicion instead of sympathy, and red tape instead of relief. The irony was bitter. The very system that once forced doctors to overtreat now undertreats and shames patients like him. I tell you, for decades, the idea of doctors was they needed to have professional detachment. Maybe it's time to say instead, maybe doctors and nurses and other caregivers should start having empathy instead. John's testimony strips away excuses. Patients did not invent this crisis. Bureaucrats did. Pharmaceutical executives did. And now, the punishment has fallen on those least responsible, the men and women who live with daily pain and simply want to be treated as human beings. Oh, what's the next one? This next one's an Army veteran. The politicians are all about that. Yeah, if we look after our veterans, we always look after our veterans. Red Thunder wore the uniform of the United States Army and paid the price in scars and broken bones. He is now 90% disabled, a number that sounds abstract until you know what it means. He cannot leave his house without pain relief, and lately, even that relief has been rationed away. The VA, which once pledged to care for him, now treats him like a suspect. Pain medications that gave him the ability to step outside to see the world beyond his walls are rationed and restricted. The DEA's shadow looms larger in his care than his service record does. Let's see, the DEA just needs to go entirely. Just get rid of it. He fought for his country, but his country now fights him when he asks for mercy. Every day the horizon grows smaller. Each week his world feels more like a prison with no door. Red Thunder's story is not just his own. It is the story of a promise broken. Alright, now we have a Texas nursing administrator whose life was saved by a liver transplant, but in the fight for pain management, instead of compassion, he was met with suspicion. Instead of care, he was treated like a criminal. His medications gave him the ability to function, to enjoy the life that his transplant had preserved. But over time, the system cut him off. He was forced to taper when his body wasn't ready, and then he was shoved into cold turkey withdrawal over Thanksgiving. The timing was cruel, the method inhumane. A man who had dedicated his career to medicine was abandoned by it in his own time of need. And the last one is a retired Border Patrol agent. When pain entered his life, it stole the career he loved. Opioids became the only tools that allowed him to keep moving, to keep functioning at any level. Even with a record of service and a reputation for excellence, it even says above he was honored as Employee of the Year, he found himself stigmatized. He was treated as if survival itself were a crime. He was treated as if survival itself were a crime. I know all about that. A minor miracle that I survived that accident. Coming to in the bent and twisted wreckage of a Crown Victoria with limbs going in way they're not supposed to be going, with the first responders amazed that I could still move my fingers and toes. Because thankfully there wasn't much nerve damage. There was some, but I still had function. And thanks to orthopedic surgery, I got to keep my arm and my leg. I am just sentenced to constant unceasing pain. And like so many others, all we are asking for is just the little bit of relief that a pharmaceutical miracle allows. Because again, full agonist opioids are the only true painkillers we have. So unless you're like David F., where they can pinpoint it to a single nerve that they can then burn and give you a few months of relief until the nerve heals, for most of the rest of us, that's going to be the only option. Because NSAIDs are just anti-inflammatories, Tylenol's a COX inhibitor, and they both do terrible things to your liver and kidneys. You don't have that with the basic full agonist opioids like hydrocodone and oxycodone. Those are not your problem. And yet, because the war on drugs has failed and failed and failed, they need to keep finding scapegoats, finding reasons why. And instead of doing the only thing that could possibly work, which is to end the insane and psychotic war on drugs, now they're left with scapegoating and blaming pain patients. Manney asked me in an email, what can we do? What can we do to break through all of the lies and all of the propaganda and get this message out there? And it broke my heart to tell him I didn't have a good answer. He's looking for an answer. I'm looking for an answer. The people over at the Doctor-Patient Forum are looking for an answer. How do we break through and get this information out to a wide audience? I don't know, but all I know is that you can help by sharing this video everywhere you can. Share Manney's stories. Share Manney's link. If you know anyone who's suffering from acute or chronic pain and they have a story to tell, give them Manney's link so they can share it with him. And support people like Manney and the Doctor-Patient Forum and myself. We don't really have anything to do with each other. We're just operating independently. So, supporting one doesn't support the other. So if you want to support me and keep me going, the only way to do that is at donate.bogosity.tv. You can donate there, of course, like, subscribe, share these videos, and even consider becoming a regular supporter at Patreon, Subscribestar, or Discord. Any little bit you can do helps so much, and you never know. Your little bit that you share, or your little bit that you give, or your story that you share, just might be the one that ends up breaking it through. So please consider supporting in any way you can. Thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, stay strong and be free.